Top Gun continues to soar at the box office while a Marvel legend flails at the theaters for a second time, and Everything Everywhere All at Once a review. For the Hub on Hollywood, I'm James.
I'm Jamie. That was a mouthful. Good job. You did it. We're entering the summer, the season of summer blockbusters. And
Right.
our first summer blockbuster is really knocking it out of the park. I mean, they've gone sky high, right, James?
They're flying past expectations.
That's right. Every other pun imaginable.
Yeah, so Top Gun, if you haven't seen it already, Maverick, the sequel to the famously beloved 1980s film starring Tom Cruise, of course, continues to soar at the box office. To date, it has earned $291 million domestically. Globally, that's looking at $548 million, making this the highest domestic grossing film for Tom Cruise. And one thing I love about this, not only is this the movie of the summer, and I think the movie of the year to beat, but for Tom Cruise, this just gives him more ammunition, no pun intended, going into the next Mission Impossible film. Yeah, it's kind of intended. But this is getting a lot more people hyped up for the next Mission Impossible film, especially because that trailer for that film aired right before Top Gun Maverick, and so you kind of get hit with a double whammy of Tom Cruise. And so this is going to be a fantastic year for Tom, and also a fantastic year for the movie theater experience, because those over 35, they're coming back in droves to see this film. And so, can Tom Cruise save the theater experience? Apparently he can, and he's doing it right now. But that brings me to my next point, because something that kind of became an internet meme, an internet sensation for all the wrong reasons, is Morbius. And have you seen Morbius?
I did not.
The effort.
I saw all of the poor reviews. It had like 20% on Rotten Tomatoes or something like that, and a lot of people were talking about how poor the computer graphics were, that it was very like
And
early
the story
2000s
is the
Uncanny
worst.
Valley kind of stuff. And so it got it got made fun of online.
Yeah.
But apparently the studio thought it was love. They couldn't read between the lines. They missed the sarcasm. Here.
Either they miss the sarcasm, or they're enveloping it with every ounce, and the effort that it will make more money, and the effort that it will produce a sequel. But yeah, after becoming a massive meme online, Sony Productions announced that it will be re-releasing it into 1,000 theaters across the U.S. Sony and Jared Leto, they had this online campaign. I'm not sure if you heard the meme, but everyone's saying, it would have been hilarious, or it should have been included in the movie, that Morbius should have said, "It's Morbin time." And so that meme alone exploded, and that led to Jared Leto leaning into the memeing itself. He went on Twitter tweeting a video with the caption, "What time is it?" And it shows him reading a script titled Morbius 2, "It's Morbin time."
It's Morbin time.
And so after all the jokes and everything made it online, and it led to this spike in popularity on digital demand. And so for a while, Sony was celebrating the uptick of sales and made it the most popular. So excited. So they thought, you know what, maybe we could use this meme, this internet trolling, to our advantage by re-releasing it, and hopefully more people will see it. But apparently, the internet had different plans, so much so that people online were saying, do not go out and watch the movie, so it could bomb for a second time. And that is exactly what happened. On Friday. Just to put this in perspective, it only made $85,000, which means, being released in only 1,000 theaters, it made $85 at each theater on its opening re-release, making it the second time a movie has bombed and failed in 1 year. And so people, again, they're still joking that, the hype around it, even though the numbers were not looking good, it may still be enough for Sony to produce a sequel, and in their effort to try to build their own Spideyverse separate from the MCU. Again, I don't know who is making the decisions, but this isn't a good one, I don't think.
No, it's not. And I can see how they would try to capitalize on the attention. Maybe they were going by the philosophy of, all news is good news. You know what I mean? Like, as
Right.
long as you're getting hype, you're getting attention, people are talking about you, it can only be positive. It can only lead to, more interest and more money. Apparently, it didn't work out for them in that way. But as you were mentioning, this is Sony's latest entry into the Spider-Man universe. So it's kind of it's a ding on them. It's a ding on them that it's done so poorly. Did you watched Morbius, right? You saw the
I
end
did.
credits scene?
Yeah, I saw a screener for it, and you can check out my review of it, which I'm pretty sure you don't need to based on what I've just said. But yeah, they're trying to intertwine and interconnect the other previous Spider-Man movies from the MCU into the Sonyverse, but very cringeworthy stuff in how they're trying to do it.
But the end credits scene in particular, there was something with the Vulture, correct?
Yeah, Michael Keaton was kind of reprised his role. Kind of yes and no, he did. So, there's a scene where the multiverse is opened up, and you're getting all these different characters being thrown into places where they don't belong. And there's a scene in jail where, if you saw was it No Way Home, the first Spider-Man movie, the one with Vulture. It shows him getting arrested at the end.
Homecoming,
And so
Homecoming, yeah.
Homecoming, that's right, Homecoming. And so when we find him, we see him in jail, but he gets morphed into this other alternative universe. But in this universe, he's still behind bars, but he hasn't committed a crime here, so he's released. And so it shows him trying to meet up with Morbius, and in the end credit scenes, it shows Vulture in his full mechanical attire with the wings and the mask and everything, which no one is explaining how that happened, especially if he's dumped into this new universe with no hardware or no support at all. Anyway, so it shows Michael Keaton. It doesn't show Michael Keaton. You listen to Michael Keaton,
Yeah,
what
you
you
hear
think is
him
Michael
behind the
Keaton's
mask.
voice behind a mask saying, and again, you could tell that these were not shot together. Jared Leto and Michael Keaton were not in the same room. And this was just a mishmash trying to force this connection. It shows the Vulture saying, I don't know how I got here, Doc, but I've been reading a lot about you. I think it has something to do with Spider-Man. I think we should partner up and do some good. And then Morbius is like, yeah, okay. But again, you could tell this was totally stitched together, and they're trying their best to force this
I
connection.
bring this up, James. I bring this up because this movie was delayed so many times, and I think this is why maybe it hasn't done as well. This movie was delayed so many times, and the story had to be altered, and it ended up being less and less connected to Spider-Man. There were all of these other references that were supposed to be a part of Morbius that ended up getting taken out. And so, the relevance to the rest of the MCU kind of got diminished, and it got a little bit lost. And like you were saying, even that end credit scene, it felt off. And they are trying to allude towards a Sinister Six movie, but that's essentially what we got in Spider-Man No Way Home. We had the Sinister Six. It was just the number 6 villain was Venom, who was lost in Mexico drinking margaritas.
Yeah, he didn't join the fight.
Getting caught up on the news of the universe, which was wonderful. It was so great. So I don't know that Sony is trying to make it work, but this is a stumble. It's definitely. Will this failure cause Sony to make some changes, to change course a little bit, is my question for you. Because Sony had the same writers for Morbius are the same writers for the Madam Web movie, which is the other entry into this Sony Spider-Man verse that they are putting together. So it has the same writers as Morbius, and it is being shot here in Massachusetts this summer. In a matter of weeks, they're going to be shooting Madam Web here in Massachusetts. Castings for that should be going out in the next couple of weeks. So anyways, my question, James, will this failure cause Sony to make some changes, do you think?
I don't think so. I mean, I think they have to look at their their timeline and what they want to set up, because they're trying their darndest. And like you mentioned with Madam Web, they are moving forward with the Kraven the Hunter, and also this other new character. I think it's called El Muerto. He's a newish kind of comic, and they've already cast somebody for that. And so they're trying and they're moving forward. But the thing is, again, and they're going to try to pull in because they own the rights to Spider-Man. So they are unfortunately going to be bringing in Tom Holland any way they can. But yeah, it's just so clunky. I don't see, unless they need like a James Gunn, maybe not exactly James Gunn, but they need a new director with a better vision on the long run. Someone who can like inject more life into this, new life, because the way that it's going right now, it's not working too well. Like, Sony, it gets its criticisms for some of its CGI, but it's not completely terrible. It's workable and doable. And so they just need to get better writing. Like, it's kind of like the same thing with the DC universe. Visually it looks fantastic. I think the casting is right on point, but it's just the story and the execution of it very sloppy and very clunky. And so Sony needs to do a course correction, unless they're going to have Madam Web be the next Morbius. People will actively fight against it online and not convince people to go see it in theaters, even if it may happen to be a good movie. Mm-hmm. And again, characters with like Kraven the Hunter, iconic comic book character, but. Mm-hmm. If there's no good, strong story behind it, then people, you're not going to be bringing people back into the theater to give them a second chance. Mm-hmm. So I think they need to. I don't know what they need to do. They need to slow down. They need to slow down. That's what they got to do right now, because what they're doing is not working.
Yeah. I mean, Venom's done well, but they really need to learn a lesson from whatever happened here with Morbius, if they want the rest of their Spideyverse to be successful and to make money off of that, because right now they're operating off of a loss. Not that Jared Leto's a great actor, but it just doesn't seem like the
weird
story
dude,
was there
but
for that.
Good actor, yeah.
Weird dude,
yeah.
Great singer.
Yeah,
Saw him in concert once. That was like the best concert experience ever.
Morbius didn't suffer because of the acting per se, especially the acting of Jared Leto. Again, he's doing his best, great. I guess. It's just the writing and the execution of the story, and again, it just feels very rushed and also very needless. Yeah. Again, they're just cramming all this to create their own Sony universe. Yeah.
Well, hopefully,
very sloppy.
Hopefully, as they move forward, there won't be as many complications with COVID. There won't be as many delays, because we want Madam Web to be a huge success, because it's filming here in Massachusetts, so it has to be, because you know what? That's just the energy that we are pouring into it, which leads us, James, to our casting calls. What did you guys think of Morbius? Top Gun, have you seen it? All of that. Let us know.
Is it Morbin time? Are you feeling?
Is it Morbin time? Is it Morbin time? Was
Did you give it a second
Morbin
chance?
Time? I don't think so. That was the whole point. No. Let us know. Comment down below. Find us on social media. Search Hub on Hollywood. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. We're everywhere that you want to be. We're on the TikToks. Come join the conversation. Let us know what you think. We'll give you a shout out here on the show. But as I was saying, James, that takes us perfectly into our casting calls. And James, why don't you kick it off for us?
All right, so we have CP Casting looking for street musicians for movie work. This is titled under Buskers. CP Casting looking for men and women who work as buskers, street musicians. This is a paid gig in a major feature film. This is shooting in early August here in Boston. So if you are a busker, if you're a street musician, email your name, phone, where you live, recent photos, and which instruments you play, any previous movie or TV work. Send all that to cpcastingsubmit2020@gmail.com. If you happen to have any links to websites or videos of you performing, that's also a bonus. Again, send that to cpcastingsubmit2020@gmail.com.
All right, and Slate Casting says, hello and happy weekend. We are looking for extras and stand-ins for a commercial. They're looking for non-union men, 21 to 35, who are comfortable with moving furniture. Maybe you have a friend who's asked you to move this weekend and you told them absolutely not. Well, if you do this, they'll at least pay you. They're also looking for a very taller men, 6'2 to 6'4, for stand-in work. This shoots later this month. must be vaccinated, all of that. You're going to want to send your availability, a photo, your name, email address, where you live, height, weight, and a few pictures to slatecastingextras@gmail.com for that commercial. You want to put mover in the subject line.
All right, and finally, Slate Casting also looking for real families in Washington, D.C., Maryland, and the Delaware area for an upcoming non-union project. They're looking for real couples who are 45 years old or older. This pays $1,200 a person for a one-day shoot. If you are cast, no acting experience is needed. If you are interested, you should send current photos, names, contact information, city and state where you live. Send all that to Slate Real People Casting, slaterealpeoplecasting@gmail.com. So yeah, Maryland, D.C., Delaware. We're giving people options outside of Massachusetts. So if you know anybody who lives over there,
friends down there.
Yeah,
we'll send that along.
Yeah, send them this info.
Send them that info. And so, like we said, lots of great opportunities coming later this summer. Stay with the Hub on Hollywood. We're everywhere that you want to be. We're wherever podcasts are heard. We're on YouTube. We're on the Twitters, the Facebooks, the TikToks, the Instagram. Go ahead and find us, and we will get you cast in the movie. And then maybe you get to hang out with me on set. Like I was on set.
There we go.
All this week. Yeah. Can't talk about it right now, but maybe next year I can talk about...
That's coming out later. That's coming out later. Stay tuned. But speaking about being everywhere, let's talk about this new movie. It's not really a new movie, but it's still a movie that's still generating a lot of buzz, which is Everything Everywhere All at Once. This is a A24 studio production that came out about 11 weeks ago, but it made its rounds in the festival circuits and got a lot of buzz for the story, for the creativity, and for the filmmaking aspect of this. But I just recently watched this in theaters, and let me tell you, this was such a wild ride. This stars Michelle Yeoh as Evelyn Wang, Ki Hee Kwan, who was that child actor from Indiana Jones, Temple of Doom years ago.
Yes.
Hasn't acted since, but he came back after
It's
hearing
the
more
Kiwanis
about
songs.
more. Yeah, it's hearing about also the more representation of minority actors, and so after hearing about that, he hopped on board. James Hong, who is in his 90s now, but still still going strong. Stephanie Hsu and Jamie Lee Curtis in this film. But this is a story about an aging Chinese immigrant who is swept up in an insane adventure where she alone can save the world by exploring universes connecting the lives she could have led. And we are introduced to this character, Evelyn, who, with her husband and adult daughter, they run this failing laundromat, and it's riddled with tax problems. When all of a sudden, while at the IRS office with her family, she meets an alternative version of her husband who takes control of her real husband, who needs to tap into these different alternative universe versions of herself in order to stop this villain who seeks to destroy every universe in existence. It sounds very complicated.
Wow. That escalated quickly.
Yeah, it seems like a very complicated story, and it somewhat kind of is. This is a movie that deserves and requires your attention, but it's also a very grounded, intimate story about a family who have to accept the things that led them to where they are in their life. The good decisions, the bad decisions, the ugly, the beautiful. Like I said, it's a grand story. I would recommend watching the trailer before going in, just so you kind of get an idea of what this is. But it's a grand story, but at its core, it's about a family and their relationship during a time of struggle and hardship. Have you seen the trailer for this? It's kind of all over the place. Yeah, it seems to run the gambit of martial arts, of horror, of comedy, of whimsical, of sci-fi, all crammed into one movie, and it makes it work so well.
You're selling it, boy. Yeah.
Yeah. The story, I'll admit, can be confusing in the first act, but I think that's done on purpose because you are learning things as the main character is learning them as they go along. And so I won't go into spoilers, but I will talk about every aspect of this film. This is filmmaking at its finest, at its purest, at its best. The stunts, the action scenes are amazing. The real-life practical effects mixed with the VFX and CGI, both done incredibly well, working hand in hand together in order to tell the story. Every actor in this movie is at the top of their game, needing to not only convey incredible emotions, ups and downs, but also doing it while flipping into different universe versions of themselves at a blink of an eye. This movie may seem kind of complicated, but it does require your attention to follow along, but you are paid off. You are rewarded during this movie, and especially at the end of this movie. It's also a great representation of minorities and those of different ages. We see the main actors; they're up there. I don't know their exact ages, but there's some of these actors like Jamie Lee Curtis, Michelle Yeoh, who had like you could say their peak performances back in the 80s and 90s, but they're right back up on the main stage without missing a beat, and they carry this movie so well along with all the other actors. So far, it has grossed $60 million after being released for 11 weeks, and is actually going to be expected to be A24's highest grossing film for the studio, and expected to surpass $80 million easily during its theatrical run. I don't want to hype up the story too much. It is a very great story, but you need to go in with an open mind. I know, it did seem like a lot of hype. I don't want to overhype it, but I will say it is an incredible movie that I will say does, again, deserve your full attention. There's some movies, like some Disney, Pixar movies that you can just watch and just just soak in what's being thrown at you. And not saying that those movies are bad, because there are a lot of great movies that do that, but there are also other movies that you really need to pay attention to. You should not be on your phone. You should not be, talking too much to the person right next to you. This is something that will reward the moviegoer for their attention. And so, Everything Everywhere All at Once, it's still in theaters right now. I recommend catching it in theaters because the visuals, the storytelling, the stunts, the coordinating, everything, it works so well together. Hard to do, but it does it. So it gets my approval.
Well, I love anything that is pure storytelling. And conveying emotion and truth through the fantastical, and it sounds like that's what this is. So, that it was a very great explanation. You've sold me on it. I knew nothing about it, and now I'm like, oh my god, now I need to see it. So, thank you for that, sir.
Well, speaking about what we're seeing or what we should be seeing, what are you watching most recently?
Well, I haven't been able to watch a lot, James, but I am caught up on Obi-Wan, the Obi-Wan Kenobi series on Disney Plus, episode 3. I was not expecting the intense emotions, the emotional damage, just being in a glass case of emotion, all of those memes and whatever. But the storytelling here, again, also very solid. I feel like the Obi-Wan Kenobi series is sort of the missing link here that is healing the Star Wars fandom and everything that we went through sort of with the sequels that were not so great and not very satisfying. I think Obi-Wan is satisfying, and he starts off as broken as the fandom, and we are slowly seeing his journey. I know that's a little too metaphorical. I'm reading into it. Am I projecting, James? I'm definitely
maybe a little
projecting.
bit, but I'm right there with you. But for this one, is it okay to go into spoilers a little bit for this episode?
Yeah, let's go into a little bit of spoilers.
Warning.
Just warning. We're just going to go into a little bit of spoilers here, but so Obi-Wan and Leia are making their escape. They end up on another world where they're meeting a liaison who's helping them to get back to Leia's family. And of course, they sort of get betrayed along the way. But there's a scene where Obi-Wan and Leia are in the back of this truck, and they're heading towards a city. And Leia asks Obi-Wan, like, are you she says, you knew my mother. She can tell. You knew my mother. You knew her. And are you my real father? Because she knows that she's adopted, and Obi-Wan says, I wish I could tell you that I was. And like, just knowing all of the backstory, knowing all of the emotions involved, and the way that Ewan conveys it, I was crying, James. There was so much emotion there, and it's like that he really, really does wish that he could say that, he is her father, and she never learns who her real father is until much later, and you know how terrible he is in that moment. And it was great storytelling, and I'm highly enjoying it, and it's just way more emotions than I was expecting. What was your take?
Well, speaking of Leia's real father, her real father does show up. We get
Yes.
Darth Vader in his prime, showing up after Leia and Kenobi get ratted out by this mole-looking guy who ended up being Zach Braff. The actor Zach Braff played that mole who was
No,
driving
good
the
for him.
transport. Yeah, and so the Empire finds out that Kenobi and Leia are on this planet and pretty much trapped. There's no one going in or out of this planet. And we get this scene that a lot of people are saying is very reminiscent to like Halloween, where we have Michael Myers, this unstoppable killing machine, is walking through this town along with the Inquisitors, and he feels the Force, he feels Kenobi nearby, and so we get this introduction of this real. This shows what causes the fear, what creates the fear all across the galaxy, the fear that Darth Vader instills. His presence alone is enough to get everybody to hide and huddled up in terror. As he's walking through the town, he is trying to coax Kenobi out because Kenobi is hiding, of course, and he's not planning to hop out anytime soon. And so he's popping around and he's pulling people, force choking, and pulling them literally out of windows and demanding to know where Kenobi is. There are other people that try to help, instantly get killed. There's one point where again, this was some horror aspect to it, but Darth Vader grabs a woman using the Force and literally just drags her with ease as she's screaming for him to stop and screaming for help. And all this to entice the Jedi to come out and try to help, but that does not happen until Kenobi, he makes sure Leia and this liaison are out of harm's way, and then he decides to try to lead Kenobi or lead Darth Vader away. And so it's that moment where Kenobi is trying to get away from Vader, but Vader finds them, just like Michael Myers always finds their target. And then we see this actual fight, but you can really hardly call it a fight between Darth Vader and Kenobi, because at this point Kenobi is a weak, defeated Jedi who is not in tune with the Force, is not in tune, so he's pretty much using just muscle memory of using a lightsaber. You can tell he is afraid. And that moment where he sees Darth Vader and he asks him, what have you become? And Darth Vader just goes, I am what you made me. And you could just sense the fear and the anger, the fear in Kenobi and the anger in Darth Vader. And you have this fight. Again, you can't really call it a fight because Darth Vader is toying with Kenobi, and he wants him to be punished and humiliated. And we get this scene where you finally have this confrontation where Darth Vader Force chokes Kenobi, lifts him up, and then lights a bunch of coal that he is spread across the ground. And in one of the darkest moments in all of Star Wars, he tells Kenobi, you're going to feel the same pain pretty much. You're going to suffer as I have, and drags him through the fire, drags him through the flames, and Kenobi screaming in pain. And you just see the flames in the reflection of Darth Vader's helmet, and nothing but pure anger at that moment. Some of the darkest stuff we've ever seen.
How
pretty
amazing!
Intense.
Well, before this moment, how incredible were the lightsabers in the dark? Just running
beautiful.
through this dark like mill field with little mounds of sand, and you don't see anything until the glow of the lightsaber, and they're chasing each other around and turning the lightsabers on and off, and it's that just really was stunning and terrifying, and it really evoked that terror and that fear, that theme throughout. But I wanted to get your take on the end, James. So he's burning Kenobi, and then the woman comes and helps him escape. She shoots at the stormtroopers. The droid comes and picks up Kenobi. Darth Vader, James Earl Jones, back for the voice, by the way, incredible.
Great.
Could have very easily stopped him. He could have very easily killed him, but he lets him go.
Yeah,
he lets him escape.
I think I think it's part of the plot because or the ploy of having Kenobi suffer more and more
Cat
as
and
they
mouse.
mentioned exactly as they mentioned. The Empire is there, like they're all there on that planet. There's no leaving. There's no escaping. As far as Darth Vader is concerned, there's no way Kenobi is going to leave. It's pretty much going to be a cat and mouse situation. And part of Vader, his whole shtick is having people be terrified and fear feeds. He can feel the fear off of all these other people around him, and so that feeds more into Vader's power. And so not only does he want to humiliate and have Obi-Wan killed eventually, but he wants him to suffer for what he did. And so I think this is part of easily. Darth Vader could have extinguished the flames. He could have even walked through it. Like his whole setup, his whole suit is supposed to be inflammable, and so or it can't catch on fire. It's very durable, and so that wouldn't have hurt him. But I think he knows Kenobi. He thinks there's no way for him to escape, and he's just gonna let him. Be in anguish over the literal burns on his body, but also the mental, the mental fear and anguish that he's going to be going through. So I think this is all so intense.
Yes, so definitely that would be my word for the Obi-Wan series at this point. Intense, but excellent story, excellent action, very Star Wars, very true to these characters, and I can't wait for more. So let us know what you guys thought. What do you think about Obi-Wan so far? What are you looking forward to? Anything you wish you could have seen, or you're just here for it in this moment? Let us know at the Hub on Hollywood. Find us, like us, love us, share us, gotta have us, and any comments that you guys share with us, we will share on the podcast on the following episode. So I think we covered a lot of ground, James. And unless you got anything else to add.
No, yeah. Again, as well as the rest of the movies, have you seen Top Gun? Do you plan to see Everything Everywhere All at Once? I do recommend it. Are you going to go back to the theater to watch Morbius? Are you giving more? Do you need more Morbius in your life? Time. Is it Morbin time? Let us know down below.
It was never Morbin time.
I don't think so. Yeah. Save your money. Watch Top Gun instead. Yeah. But for the Hub on Hollywood, I'm James.
I'm Jamie. See you guys next time.
Bye.